Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Boltgun. Today's tutorial is going to be the first part of freehanding Horus and Sanguinius aboard the Vengeful Spirit. That's one of my favourite pieces of artwork, so I'm going to be doing the Horus and Sanguinius on one shoulder pad for Imperial Knight and the Emperor on the other shoulder pad. If you'd like to support the channel, our Ko-fi and Patreon page is a link below. Now onto the video. So the first thing that we've done is we've painted the shoulder pad black, and we're now going to just pencil in the rough picture of Horus standing over Sanguinius on board the Vengeful Spirit. He's going to have a few Sons of Horus Space Marines on either side of him. Now if you look at the picture, they are done in a bit of a more older way, so I'm changing them up so that they actually look like the Sons of Horus miniatures that I've got from my 30k army, so they're going to be in the green rather than the grey. And at the moment we're going to plan this out without the scrolls, which will be going on either side of the miniature too. So the idea with this is I'm going to be doing this over several parts, because it's quite long. It's just going to be almost like flowing painting rather than having sort of 30-second bursts of each section that we're doing. It's just going to be start to finish for each particular part. So with this one, it's going to be roughly drawing on this. Then by the end of it, we're going to have the rough outlines and kind of base colours down, roughly where they will be going, so that you can see what the picture is going to look like. And then in the installments after that, we are going to be doing specific sections. So the first part is going to be Sanguinius. After that, we'll probably be doing some of the Sons of Horus, then probably the scroll work, some of the background, and then finally finishing with Horus. This is all going to be free-handed in, so hopefully it'll end up looking okay. So that penciled in, we're now going to start with some Vallejo German Grey, and we're just going to put in the block colours for Horus's armour. Now there is details on his shoulders. You've got like a gold chain, you've also got like a stretched piece of human skin, like the skin of a face on one shoulder pad. Not too sure whether that'll be Erebus's from when he did some nice skin peeling in one of the novels. We're just going to block in the German Grey. That's one arm done there, and the big shoulder pad from his Terminator armour. I'm doing the chest piece of the Terminator armour. You've got around the centre of his torso where they've got that waistband with the Eye of Horus in the middle. He's got the kind of loin plate that hangs down at the front, leg on either side, and then the shoulder pad and elbow of his right arm. The left arm is going to be, or the left hand, as you're looking at it, his right hand with the War Master's claw is going to be mainly gold. The top of his head looking square like that, he does remind me a bit of Motor Master from Transformers. So next up we're going to use a little bit of Citadel Retributor armour. I'm going to do all of the rough gold outlines on the miniature. So this involves all the patterns on the chest of Horus. You've got some little parts of his forearm, parts of his power maul, the War Master's claw, those little details on him. Then you've also got Sanguinius lying at his feet, whose face is partially obscured by the big spiky decoration on the knight's shoulder pad. So depending on how you wanted to do this, you could do it as the artwork is, which I'm trying to copy here. The only thing I'm going to be doing different from the artwork really is the background to his right there, because you will be able to see part of the Emperor if it was the actual picture, and the background to the left as well. I'm just stretching those out a little bit so you can see more of it without the Emperor, and then we're going to put some scroll work on either side of it as well, so we can have some names upon the scrolls. But if you're looking at the piece of artwork as I'm doing this, I'm kind of following it as closely as possible with the rough painting. So I'm looking at the picture on screen while I'm doing it, so I can see roughly where things come up to and where things go down to. I think on part of this you'll see me scrub out the power maul completely and move it upwards a little bit, because I've done his left arm far too long, or slightly too long, so that the power maul went to the wrong place. It was when I was doing the hand here, I realised that the hand should have been slightly higher up, so I've blocked that out. As always, when you're freehanding, if you make a mistake, like you do one part too low down, then it is just a case, cross it out, scribble it out, paint it over, what have you, and then redo it again. And you can work back up from what you're kind of gauging the size of it and the length of it. So on here I was looking at his hand, and his hand was nearby his knee when I had put it in there. And if you look at the actual picture, it's more in line with the Eye of Horus that's on the kind of loin guard that's hanging down there. So by rubbing out that arm, you can then draw the hand so it's on line with the loin guard, and then draw the rest of the arm above that. So here we're using Retributor armour to paint in Sanguinius. There's a few little details on Horus's legs as well, and also a few little bit more like the right pauldron of Sanguinius there. I think that's his knee poking out from behind where he's got a big piece of fur. We've also got a few little sections, that one's a bit too high I think, but a few little sections of the power maul, like I think it's 2 or 3 little blocks, or 3 little blocks there, and then you've got the head of the power maul, which is just off Sanguinius's left shoulder, right as you're looking at it. So just going to use a little bit of Zandri dust, and we're going to do the fur on Sanguinius's little roby thing. Slightly off camera here, which is a bit frustrating. We're just going to paint in that part there. So the next part we're going to be doing of this is the Sanguinius's body at the bottom there. Now his face is obscured by that little decorative bit, but we'll be coming back and just painting Sanguinius on another part of the armour at a later date too. Now I'm going to use a tiny little bit of Vallejo White. It's just to do a few little pieces, like you've got an almost crescent from where one of Sanguinius's wings is bunched up behind him. You've got like a little crescent of light here. There's a spotlight just to, or on the left of Horus as you're looking at him. So we're doing a rough little jet of that so we know that's coming. I'm just going to put a little bit of white there because the top of the fur is white. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of Retributor armour to put in that kind of halo that's going round. Just going to use a tiny spot of Wazdakka Red. This is going to be to do the illuminated part around his head because that's kind of a pinky red colour, so we'll start off with Wazdakka Red here. And get the half circle of that blocked in. The whole time doing this I am constantly looking at the image of Horus and the Emperor, so they can keep going back and forth to that. I'm going to use a tiny spot of Mephiston Red, which is going to put little circles or ovals where the Eye of Horus is going on him. So Horus is being greedy, he's got 3 of those down his front. He's got one on his chest, one on his waist and one on his groin guard there. Got a little bit of redness to the waistband too. Sanguinius has got the Blood Angel's blood drop on 2 little circles on there. There's a little bit of red around the wrist of the War Master's claw too. Now I'm going to use a little bit of Sons of Horus green, and this is where the picture is going to differ slightly to the original one because I'll be doing these more like the kind of Mark IV armoured Sons of Horus that I play with. So I'm just going to block in the rough outlines of the power armour and where they're going to be stood. It's just drawing his legs off camera there. And then there's going to be another guy stood to his right. So you do the chest, the bit of a backpack, his shoulder guard, or the pauldron, and then the same on the left as well. Get them roughly blocked in of where we want the chest, the waist, pauldron. And this is just so you can plan out where you're going to be putting the rest of it and what details you're going to put in. It doesn't really matter about saying he's going to have his gun there, he's going to have this there and that there. As long as you get the rough outline of where you're going to be putting them, then you can plan out the rest of the picture. Now the guy to his left here that I'm just penciling in now, or painting in now, will actually be covered by scroll work, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to do an Eye of Horus on the chest of all of them. We don't have them, but just for nice effect. But there's going to be scroll work on the left hand side to the left of his claw. There's also going to be scroll work on the right hand side where you've got that darker bit on the right. Now I'm going to be just adding the stairs. So I'm just doing a diagonal for this. I'm not actually putting in the shape of the stairs because we're just doing this rough so that we can plan it all out. Planning it out secretly off camera, like that. So you just want to have that going diagonally upright and then flat across the top. I'm going to be using some Vallejo brown, and this is just to make little notes of where there are heads. And Horus on this picture has got quite a few noggins about his person. Got 4 or 5 around his waist. And there's 4 that you can see. I might do a 5th one just to keep it even. Otherwise it'll bug me that he's got 3 on one side and 1 on the other. 2 one side, 1 on the other. He's also got 1 on his shoulder, he's got the face on his pauldron, and he's also got 1 in the fur at the top. Now I'm going to use a tiny little bit of Tallarn sand, and this is going to be to roughly do where the background is. Now most of this is going to be covered up by scroll work, but what I try and do here is when I'm roughly planning it out, is I will paint it in the direction that it kind of looks, if that makes sense. You've got 2 discs around the big Eye of Horus above the throne. So I will do the 2 discs going circular. Then this part here is sort of like, almost like a fan of bits going around the top. So I've done that going horizontally because you can't see the ones going up. And then I'm doing the kind of circular bits going around there too. So that each bit's got kind of direction for when I'm starting to paint it. I can see which bit's going where. I'm going to use a little bit of Dryad bark. I'm going to do the fur to the big creature that he's got going across his back. Now, there's not really any detail going into this at the moment. As I say, it's all just the block colours. So we're just putting down this Dryad bark around here. Put a little bit of Sons of Horus green behind him, as though there's someone stood there, but whether or not we'll actually see him once I've painted that in, who knows. A little bit of German grey. I'm just going to paint on the throne at the top of the stairs here. Say paint on the throne, we're just going to do the rough shape of it. It's probably going to be covered by scrolls too, but there's a little spotlight shining down from that too. We're going to leave it there for now, and next time we'll come back and we'll be doing Sanguinius. We've got the rough outline, you can see all the details where they're going to go, and then we can start building up from that next time. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media, linked below. Thanks very much. If you like the channel, you enjoy the content, and you'd like to support us, our Coffee and Patreon pages are linked below. Thanks very much.